Montana's devastating fire season tops 1 million acres burned and hundreds of millions of dollars in firefighting costs.
Hundreds of evacuees of the Rice Ridge fire near Sealy are returning home, but the hazardous smoke still making conditions tough.
And the strongest Atlantic hurricane in recorded history causes extensive damage. It rips apart the Caribbean and is heading towards us.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on KPAX, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, I'm Jill Valley.
And I'm Dennis Bragg. The 2017 fire season in Montana has been devastating for people and communities. And as of today, we know now how bad it's been. The numbers, 1 million acres of land burned across the state.
That number comes from the Northern Rockies Coordination Center. It's the third largest acreage burned in more than 2 decades here. Take a look at these staggering numbers. This year, the total so far, 1,032,801 acres burned. That's not far behind the record year of 2012, when an estimated 1,221,000 acres burned. 2006 ranks as the second worst year during that same time period. The cost of fighting the fires has reached about $300 million so far this year. An estimated $53 million of that came directly from the state budget and the rest from federal money.
Montana's 2 U.S. senators spoke on the Senate floor in Washington, D.C. today about the wildfires burning across Montana and disaster aid.
They had different messages, though. Republican Senator Steve Daines said preventing wildfires is impossible, but he also said poor forest management has led to more widespread fires in Montana. He's urging Congress to take steps to stop frivolous lawsuits that he says prevent logging and other prudent management of our forest lands. Democratic Senator Jon Tester said Congress is ignoring climate change, which is leading to historic drought and these severe fires in Montana and elsewhere in the West. He also says as Congress approves money for victims of Hurricane Harvey in Texas, they should not forget about aid to Montanans and others impacted by widespread fires this year.
I can speak on behalf of all of Montana. We are tired of being told that others know better than we do while we watch our forests burn every summer, our mills close, our neighbors lose jobs, and our communities suffer from the lack of management of our federal lands.
But I am confident we can work together to ensure the victims of Harvey get the relief that they need, and the states that are burning and impacted by drought, like Montana, have the resources that they need to protect our citizens, our economy, and our way of life.
Now, so far, Congress has taken no action on any specific aid package to help states impacted by forest fires. But it does continue to be an issue, and it continues to be hot and smoky across western Montana with very little relief in sight anytime soon, which is disappointing. Here's Erin Yost with an update on our air quality and our weather. Erin.
It is, and Mother Nature just seems to have it out for us in Montana this year. A lot of ridges of high pressure, at least dominating ridges, over the past several weeks have led to that continued stretch of hot and dry weather. And of course, air quality continues to just remain on the poor side. No way around it. Hamilton today, First Security Bank iCam showing you more of the same. Impossible to make out mountain views today. Many of us saw extremely poor air quality throughout the entire day. We've got a ridge of high pressure overhead, hence the lack of air movement and all of this smoke trapped in our valleys. One more day of this before we talk thunderstorms. I've got that forecast details coming up for you in just a bit.
Growth on the Rice Ridge fire burning near Sealy Lake slows down after doubling in size on Sunday.
In fact, the blaze now stands at nearly 120,000 acres burned. Here's a look at the latest fire perimeter. Fire managers report the inversion lifted enough that by early in the afternoon on Tuesday, they were able to get some helicopters in there with water drops along the northwest side of the fire. Helping out the Flathead Hotshots and several dozers constructing fire line on that side of the blaze. Crews are able to continue line improvement east of Sealy Lake. Paying special attention right now to seal the fire line around several slop overs from previous days of the fire and continue work in that Morrell Creek area where the fire line has been crossing the drainage. Now, some evacuated Sealy residents began to return to their homes last night and today, but that doesn't mean life is getting back to normal.
The situation in Sealy Lake is still precarious with the monster Rice Ridge fire just over the hill from hundreds of homes. MTN's Augusta McDonald has more from the people who are affected by this fire.
It's quiet in the neighborhoods that were evacuated last week. The dense smoke filling the valley muffles all sound, and one resident says he hasn't really seen his neighbors.
I saw the neighbor lady that lives right over here just a little while ago. I haven't seen anybody else.
Another resident who also just got back home had watched the Rice Ridge fire grow across the hillsides behind his house and was anxious over this last evacuation.
The fire is actually this whole back area on the other side of the tree line, which you can't see. It's freaky. You know, you don't know where it's going to go. That's the issue. When a fire grows 48,000 acres in a day, it could take out a town in no time.
Not everyone is able to go back to their houses yet, but some have found a home away from home at Camp Paxton.
An unofficial shelter has formed out here at Camp Paxton where evacuees have been chipping in to make meals and clean, and the people who run the camp have opened their doors to anyone who needs a place to go.
Yeah, it started that we were going to bring a family of friends and our own family, daughter and grandkids out, and then as we were coming back to camp, we found so many others that had nowhere to go. So we said, follow us.
But if it hadn't been for Joe and Glenn and Camp Paxton, I would have had no place to go.
They had 58 people at the camp at one point. The Montana Food Bank Network delivered over 7,000 pounds of food to the camp for evacuees. People can stop by for meals, and they are going to keep the doors open to anyone who needs a place to stay for the time being. Reporting in Seeley Lake, I'm Augusta McDonald for MTN News.
It was PI Property Management in Missoula that gave the camp permission to open to evacuees. They have more food than they think they'll ever be able to distribute, but it will stay in the Seeley Lake community. After this fire season, it will go to the Seeley Food Bank. State wildlife officials have announced that the waters of Seeley Lake are once again open. It had been under a temporary closure while aircraft used most of the lake to draw water to fight the Rice Ridge fire. Fire crews may continue to scoop water from portions of the lake, so boaters do need to be alert for aircraft and stay clear of any fire suppression operations. FWP spokeswoman Vivica Krauser cautions that fire conditions could prompt another closure of the lake at some point, so boaters and others should stay tuned for updates.
Out to the Kootenai now, where the Caribou Fires continues burning 18 miles northwest of Eureka, but the good news is holding steady now at about 19,000 acres. It's still #1 priority fire in the country, and the West Kootenai region lost 40 structures to the fire Friday night. They've confirmed that number now. All residents north of Tule Lake still under mandatory evacuation. Those south of the lake are under pre-evacuation warnings.
Heavy smoke still blankets Glacier National Park tonight, but it's actually helping check the growth of the fire by the Sprague Fire because it's suppressing fire growth about 13,000 acres. The evacuation order issued Sunday remains in effect from the south end of Lake McDonald up to Logan Pass, including the North McDonald Road. Logan Pass can still be reached from the east side, and Apgar remains open. Glacier Superintendent Jeff Mao and Flathead County Sheriff Chuck Curry and others explained tonight how low-lying smoke and increased humidity have been a turnaround from the weekend when the fire was doubling in size. They explained crews are getting a lot of work done to prepare for when smoke clears again, when the fire could become more active and put on another run. They stressed, though, that safety remains the top priority. Canada Parks also issued an evacuation warning today for all areas of Waters and Lakes National Park. The smoke and air quality is actually so poor right now that the annual Montana Dragon Boat Festival has been canceled for this weekend. Minimal fire growth occurred over the last 2 days on the nearly 18,000-acre Highway 200 complex in Sanders County, and suppression actions have been largely successful. About 510 homes are threatened throughout the fire complex. Sanders County Sheriff Tom Rummel addressed the many rumors that were circulating through the county. He says Highway 200 is open, and he tells us the Sheep Gap fire has not jumped the river.
I think the active number right now is something like 45 fires burning, and most of those are in western Montana, and that keeps us blanketed under all this thick layer of smoke that many of us are breathing in on a daily basis.
MTN's Eric Clemens spoke with a doctor about what that is doing to our bodies and how we can escape the haze.
Air quality in western Montana has been unclean for some time. There are between 35 and 250 smoke particulates per cubic centimeter of air. When you breathe in that contaminated air, those particulates settle in the lungs.
So these irritants can settle in there, and people that have baseline lung disease can be more at risk for problems from that.
Those problems range in severity. You could get a sore throat or worsening asthma, but some problems could warrant immediate medical attention.
Chest heaviness is a pretty specific symptom, and that's one that doctors take very seriously. So obviously, if you are feeling chest heaviness, it's something that's new to you or worsening, worse with activity, you need to be examined immediately.
To save your lungs, doctors advise people to avoid the outdoors as often as possible.
And this isn't the time to go and do some activities outside. Certainly this isn't the day to work on your garden, but rather try to find some fun activities to do inside for the small ones and the young ones.
But Missoula is a very active community, and people may not like the idea of spending the rest of the summer indoors, so they might be tempted to go to a hardware store and buy a paper mask like this one. But the truth is, when the smoke is this bad, these paper masks really don't do you any favors.
Basic masks are probably not going to make much of a dent in what is going into your lungs from the smoke. They generally stop large particles, but not the smaller particles.
N95 industrial respirators are recommended for those who are required to stay outside for work. But Dr. Anderson says it's best to just stay in. In Missoula, Eric Clements, MTN News.
We have all the information on our different fires. We just see Dennis, 45 of them in our area. On air, online, go to our Facebook and Twitter feeds and our KPAX mobile app. That's how you can get information quickly as situations start to change. Well, still ahead, Aaron will break down the threat of potential thunderstorms by the end of the week that could clear the air a bit, but also cause more problems.
Plus, a monster hurricane barreling towards the U.S. mainland. Residents preparing for a devastating hit this weekend. The latest on Hurricane Irma coming up.